I'll give you feedback on your stuff if you want.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, it's just advice. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
All right, so what you guys are seeing is a collaboration between myself and Nick Cav from Hybrid Physiques. Now, you might recognize this Nick from another Nick's channel, Nick Wright, because they collabed a couple of days previous to us getting together. So this is the second time within a week that I have gotten Nick Wright's sloppy seconds. I don't know if I should say thank you, Nick, or damn you, Nick, you bastard. But anyways, regardless, Nick came here and I kind of showed in the beginning clip and I had some text just so you could see what was the dialogue between us. He asked for some help with his deadlifts because he wasn't really sure his form was right. He asked for my advice and I told him I would give him the best advice that has helped me based off what I saw, but obviously my shit sucks as well. So that first clip was just him going ahead and deadlifting so I could see his form. So we talked about a lot of things this day, and that's kind of tough because when you get all these different cues and tips, it's hard to really just pull one and work on one thing. But my overall message to him was work on your setup and get tighter. So what he's trying to do now is get in a good position, but what I'm noticing is where he's set up, the bar is literally over just the top of his toe, so it's very far out in front of him. And what he ends up doing is this kind of lets him drift forward and not be very tight. He then tries to pull the bar into him instead of having the bar in a good position. So that's what I'm going to really focus on here, saying, you know, you want to set up with the bar kind of split between your feet, because when you have it in front of you, you tend to roll it in, and that is very loose position. So your arms, your lats, you want to get it as tight as possible. So set up to the bar, don't let the bar set up to you, if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't, but at least you got a glorious ass shot out of that. So this time around, he's setting up with his feet more under the bar, so he's not going to be rolling it forward. And at this point, what I'm telling him is get a tight core and brace it and really pull your shins to the bar. And you see that pull was a lot smoother, in fact. Now, the problem is when you try to do some of these deadlift cues and try to fix a lot of things all at once, again, depending on where your mind is, you tend to neglect other aspects, so you do have some other forms of breakdown. So in that case, his hips seem to shoot up quite early. So on his next set here, you can see he's really paying attention to where he sets his feet up. And what I always try to do is I try to find a certain spot on my shoe that I always put my feet to. You guys can often see when I deadlift, I put my right foot first and then my left foot, because I really try to set my feet up properly. Here he's pulling himself in, making sure that his head and chest is up a little bit. And that's a pretty solid pull in my opinion. That one looked pretty good. He goes for another rep here. And it's okay as well. And one of the things that I really like to do in between pull reps is not really let myself reset too much. So as I bring the weight down, I do let the weight rest a second on the floor, but I still keep my body really tight. And I find that this has really led to better pulls on the second reps in some cases than the first pull. Now for this set, Nick wanted to jump up, which I don't normally suggest if you're really trying to work on form. I would say keep the weight a little bit lighter and just really work on that. And for this, as you can see, he's using straps, but part of the problem is he starts the bar roll again. So you can see the bar going from left to right as he pulls it closer on that first set. And here too, the bar starts to roll forward some, he gets his grip and he pulls the bar forward again. But you can see the form here isn't as good as it was previously to when he set up to the bar. So now that you've heard me be an asshole just a little bit, now let me go ahead and deadlift so you can critique my form, because my form is shit as well. But I'm gonna walk you through my setup. I try to get my feet set, I do my little wiggle, and the point of that is actually I'm thinking of trying to screw my feet into the floor as best as possible so I get a really firm grip on the floor with my feet, and then a straight pull. So you see again, as I said, my core and my lower body doesn't really change much. I'm trying to keep that tightness in and just really focusing on pulling. And overall, I think these pulls went pretty smooth for 475. So here you see Nick again on his next set, and for this again, the weight's still higher than I would typically suggest people use when you're trying to really fix form issues. Now for this, he does a little bit better job setting up with his feet, but the issue I see is, and I told him this during the day, is once he pulls himself into this bar, he should be at a very tight position. But as you can see right now, he's kind of swaying back and forth and readjusting when he's already down. And because of that, you have some form breakdown. What I told him is get into that tight position and don't move once you're there. If you get to the point where you feel you need to readjust, pull yourself out of position and get yourself set so you're both there and tight mentally and physically. Which of course brings up old man Campbell again. Pretty much the same. I really try to make most of my compound setups very similar to like a basketball free throw, where you have the same setup time in and time out, kind of get in a rhythm this way. So here you see my second set of 5 with 475. And I think if I probably did an overlay of the last set before this, it would look almost identical. So at this point I told Nick, just drop the weight a little bit. I think it'd be better for you overall. I know it's a hard thing to do, and he was very receptive to this. So again, he asked for my feedback. I didn't try not to be a dick. I know sometimes I come off that way anyway, but in this case, we're talking about trying to get tight. And what we're starting to see here is some hips shoot up early. And I think this is the point where he's just thinking about way too much. And most of this is my fault because I was giving him all kinds of cues in terms of your feet position, tight core, head position, all sorts of stuff. So one of the things I really tried to reiterate here, and I really try to stress it for anybody, is if you're going to work on something for your compound lifts, just pick one thing at a time and make sure you nail that thing before trying to implement other changes. Because again, chances are you're going to have way too much shit rolling through your head and nothing's going to really work out well. Now you see my next set here, again, 475 for another set of 5. Overall throughout the course of the day, in case I don't mention it elsewhere, my main sets were 4 sets of 5, again, all at 475, so keeping the weight static, and things went pretty well here. I want to get a little bit of a different view here for Nick, just so he could see some of this stuff as well. So here you see some more pulls again with 375 for him, really about form, and in between each time we were doing this, we're just talking about different things that work for us and what we see and whatnot. And again, I can't stress this enough. He asked for my critique, and I just say that because I normally don't like to critique people. I know all the time people send me Facebook messages and other messages of their lifts to see if I can give them feedback. I'm just trying to help based off of what I've found has helped me, and not try to be a dick because I'm not an expert and I suck at life. Okay? Have I said that enough? Have I reinforced that enough for you? I already know, although I'm sure many of you will tell me again in the comments section below. So thank you, my babies. So for Nick's last set of these deadlifts, I wanted to get a straight side view of him just so he could see all these things. And this is typically what I try to do myself when I lift and try to do some critique breakdowns. I want to get all angles here so I can see exactly what's going on. In this case, you can see everything from his back angle to his arms to his shoulders, where everything is, how it lines up to make sure you're getting the most optimal pull. Now after that, we did some good old bro exercises because Nick is actually a professional WNBF bodybuilder. He wanted to do some back as well, so we did some bent over barbell rows, and this is the first time I've done this in months, so I just went ahead and did this. Now for these particularly, I don't do them a ton, but when I do, I like to use a double hand, of course double hand, double overhand thumbless grip. I really find these works my forearms quite well, and that's one of the reasons that really translates over well at deadlift. Now me and Nick did some other exercises for this day, but I ran out of capacity on my memory card. Strong game. Be sure to go ahead and check him out on YouTube. I'm going to link his channel in the description box below. As always, thanks for watching and stay big.